Batman has saved countless lives, but there was one that he couldn't protect, and that is the one that haunts him the most. Jason Todd's tragic fall from Robin to Red Hood isn't just a story of vengeance. It's a story of Batman's greatest failure. But how did it all go wrong? And how did Jason Todd become the one thing that Batman could never take back? Every Batman fan knows the story of Jason Todd. Every Batman fan knows exactly what happened and how bad it went. How much it affected every member in the entirety of the Batfamily that had existed up until that point, and exactly what led up on the aftermaths of it. The story of Jason Todd is probably one of my favorite stories in the entirety of the Batman specific family related universe, and everything that they have done with his character is always almost perfectly done, so I never have any complaints about him as a character. So that's why I wanted to make this video. The video basically describing why Jason Todd is Batman's greatest failure. Why he is Batman's greatest hurt and pain in the entirety of his Robins that he's ever had. And obviously, to start that off, we would have to talk about the origins of Jason Todd. While obviously his origins have changed a couple times throughout his entire comic book history, specifically due to events like Crisis on Infinite Earths and events like the New 52 happening, his origins have maintained a very big similarity for the main last two. His original origins was really hilarious due to the fact that they just basically made him a Dick Grayson copy with a completely different hair color. And then eventually, once the Crisis on Infinite Earths happened and they changed his backstory, then we eventually got the one that we all know. The one that goes about him stealing Batman's tires and then Batman finding him, figuring out that he is quite literally alone with his father being a criminal, presumed to be dead, and his mother being also presumed to be dead. He was all alone, and Batman knew this. This was just a very angsty kid that had issues and almost a lot of anger that he didn't have anywhere to actively utilize it. He was already so much more different from somebody like Dick Grayson. Batman was able to get Dick Grayson and grab him in the perfect time before he was able to fully swell into the despair of his family being gone. He still had some actual time to be able to be raised by somebody like Bruce. Jason had time. He had countless amounts of time to be already alone, to the point that he was already smoking cigarettes, to the point that he was already so much more angry than anybody else that Bruce had been able to deal with. He had already gotten to the point that he reminded Bruce a lot more of himself than Dick ever could. His origins obviously would go to the point of him being a lot angrier than Bruce would eventually have honestly anticipated, to the point of him first spending 6 months training him in the comics before him actively being able to do anything, because he didn't have that acrobatic grace that Dick Grayson had. So he spent time training him, but obviously him being a lot angrier would usually do things outside of Batman's control. He would usually do things outside of what Batman wanted and would be a lot more angry and do way more dangerous things than he absolutely needed to. This would cause a lot of problems between these two, especially leading to the point where Bruce would even consider having Jason just step back from being Robin for a little while until he got his mind straight, until he lost some of the anger, which obviously wouldn't be good for Jason whatsoever and wouldn't be anything that he would really be liking. But that's the real just backstory for his character. Now, the fatal mistake. The biggest part of his entire story, the role that Batman played in Jason's death. His entire life had been basically leading to being to somebody that could protect people. Him leaving and coming back to be the person that was able to protect Gotham, and then having to be losing the person that he had now considered as a second son after Dick would just be a very big tragedy for him. Obviously, everybody knows the story. I mean, any comic fan knows the story. A death in the family, the time that Jason Todd died via him going to look for his mother and his mother absolutely betraying him. His mother getting to the point where she sold him off to the Joker, and the Joker did exactly what he wanted to do. Beating Jason Todd with the crowbar and absolutely wrecking his entire body to the point that even after he would blow the building up that he was in and lead him to be into his death. This would be a very big situation that led to so many different things right afterwards that it would just be a very big thing to be talking about. The biggest effect being on Batman's mental health. Obviously, I'm never going to be one to say that Batman has perfect mental health and he is a symbol of virtue when it comes to what your mind should be. But the impact of Jason's death on Batman really led to an increased sense of guilt, self-blame, and a darker approach to his mission, but never getting to the point of actively killing the Joker. Yes, he wanted to. Yes, he wanted to more than anything else in the world, but he understood that if he did, he would never be able to come back from it. That being his excuse, that leading to even more problems down the line between him and Jason. This is one of the main other reasons that Jason's his greatest mistake. Yes, the fact that he allowed Jason to die. Yes, the fact that a lot of these events ended up happening in the worst possible way. But him not doing anything about it, and obviously not knowing that Jason would return, but him not doing anything about it, even led to more of Jason being pissed off more than he ever could have been originally. Yes, Batman had to deal with the absolute loss of Jason. He had to deal with the fact that he had made such a big and profound mistake, and it had led to somebody that he had actively grown to care for being killed. Him understanding that this is the price, him feeling the consequences of his own actions, him seeing and figuring out that not everything will be able to go to his way at any given perfect point in time. This was the absolute worst thing that could have possibly happened to him, and he now figured out that he has to deal with something like this. He understood that this was absolutely so bad for it happening, and he couldn't have anything to do to fix it. He had nothing that he can possibly do to really fix his own mental mind, and it was just even destroying him even more. Jason Todd's return just caused even more chaos. It caused even more panic, and specifically somebody like Batman who had thought that he had died already. The way that he returned, obviously, I'm not going to really need to talk about it due to the fact of the way of him returning, specifically being a very weird event going on with Superboy Prime, and then him clawing his way out of the grave, would just be something that is absolutely chaotic in itself. But the fact that Talia al Ghul grabbed him, put him into the Lazarus pit, and kind of helped him get back to a better state of mind was even more just honestly heartwarming in my opinion, due to the fact that we at least get a Jason that's not completely just like not in his own right mind. Yes, he's not like perfectly there for the beginning of it, but we can at least know that he's now back to a normal person. And his entire thing and his entire new mission is the thing that Batman now has to actively deal with. The fact that he didn't kill the Joker, and as soon as Jason comes back and figures out that Bruce never did anything about that, just causes so much more pain in the entirety of the situation. Their entire relationship gets tested so heavily due to this fact. He comes back and is acting like an absolute criminal, acting like he wants to just take over the underworld, use a completely different method of absolutely taking over how Batman does and deals with his own villains, and trying to use a different method. The way that he ended up in setting that entire story, especially if we talk about something like the Under the Red Hood movie, just as an example, the entirety of the situation of him fighting him, eventually going off and dealing with somebody like the Joker, and having that entire battle with the Joker afterwards is one of those things that really sets into stage how much of a difference Bruce's actions could have affected this entire situation. Obviously, yes, him killing the Joker probably was never a possibility due to the fact of who Batman is, but the way to deal with that entire situation for Jason not to be completely just pissed off at you automatically would have been so easy to possibly and potentially do. It would have been an easy thing to quite easily remedy in various ways that I probably just can't think of on like the exact dot right now, but if we're being honest, it really wouldn't just be an extremely like hard fought thing to do. Now, their entire relationship is obviously getting tested almost at any given point in constant time due to the fact that Jason's full-on thing up until this point is challenging Batman's actual code and challenging the fact that killing is absolutely sometimes necessary depending on who you're having to deal against, because Joker has caused the death of thousands. Joker has completely caused and reaped so much chaos in the entirety of the world that Jason feels justified in trying to kill the Joker. He feels justified in actively killing people that deserve to be killed because it actively makes a difference. What Batman does just causes more chaos and doesn't really change anything in the long run. It just makes things harder for everybody. It just makes things more annoying for everybody because of the fact that, if we're being honest, the Joker's always going to be here, so people are always going to be dying because he's going to be around. So it's just going to cause even more and more chaos. So the fact that he isn't never going to be gone is just an even more reason why Jason absolutely can't stand Batman at times. Yes, eventually he comes back into the fold, but it just makes it to the point that his relationship with Bruce will never be the same. Bruce completely takes in and recognizes Jason as everything that is wrong with him, the main reasons why they don't always get along so well. The fact that what Jason represents in Bruce is his anger, the resentment, the rage that is inside of him, the things that Bruce doesn't want to see in himself, but automatically has to see in Jason every time that he looks at him, the things that he would prefer not having in himself, but he knows are going to be there no matter what, and that is almost all that Jason has left, the rage, the anger, and yes, he's been able to mellow out quite a bit as time has gone along, but Bruce knows that that is still mainly who Jason is, the active rage that is going to be coming inside of him from his childhood, from his backstory, from his entire story. That rage will always be there, and there is no possibility of it ever leaving. It is just a constant and consistent part of Jason's life for the rest of it, and he can't do anything to possibly even think about changing it. It'll just be there for the rest of it time. And so his entire thing, the reason that Batman failed him so much, is mainly due to the fact of him not spending honestly enough time trying to make sure that Jason was in his right and perfect mind before setting him off to become Robin. He immediately had a new Robin, and he immediately grabbed him and put him into the training to become a Robin without giving him time to, actually live life first. He immediately just said, yeah, I'm gonna grab you, take you from your house, have like one specific interaction with you afterward, and then instead of taking you to an orphanage, which obviously probably wouldn't have been the best idea, I'm just going to immediately train you to become a Robin and see how that goes. Then about a year later, you're like, okay, I made a mistake. Maybe Jason wasn't ready, and I might need to recalculate how I did all of this. So that entire situation, the entire thing that he did, would have just been a complete mistake. And yes, it has led to one of the best characters in the Batfamily ever, but it has also led to what Batman considers to be his greatest disappointment, the greatest thing that he ever messed up on, his greatest failure, letting Jason Todd become who he is today, letting Jason Todd grow into more of a chaotic monster than he could have ever imagined, just because of the fact that he wasn't able to predict and get the entirety of the training correct. But please tell me in the comments down below what you guys think. Tell me how you guys enjoy Jason Todd's character, and tell me if you guys think that I'm correct, if you think I'm right or whatever. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you guys do enjoy the content that I do post on this channel, maybe consider joining the YouTube memberships, which was just the main method to kind of connect with me a little more, whether it's primary like access to me commenting, like replying on your videos, that like on any comments that you make, or any ideas that you guys want me to do. You guys get priority on me doing those videos in a timely manner. So please maybe consider go checking out the YouTube memberships. The lowest price, I'm pretty sure, is only 99 cents a month. So if you can spare that, please do. But with all that said and done, I hope you guys enjoy this video. As always, peace.